Good afternoon. Thank you again for being here for now 2 major incidents in our region. I want to start by thanking our first responders, Chief Crowley, Chief Moore, and all of the Angelenos who have stepped up for this storm, have inspired so many around the region, around the state, and around the country. Since we spoke this morning, I have spoken to Vice President Harris, who offered her support, and also, as you can see here with us today, is the governor of our great state. He's also standing by to provide assistance as needed. Joining us today as well is the chair of the County Board of Supervisors, Janice Hahn. I want to thank our partners for locking arms with us as we lead this response. Over the past few days, the city family has been working around the clock to prepare for the storm that we are just beginning to see hit Los Angeles. But some disasters we don't have the luxury to respond to in advance. But no matter what, we will be ready. Our message today remains the same: stay safe, stay informed, and stay home. The worst of the rains is potentially left to come. We will continue with our mission, and our primary mission, of course, is to protect the lives of Angelenos and their property. Second, we need to keep our city workers safe. Third, we must ensure that city services are operating as best as possible given the circumstances. The city has opened the most emergency temporary shelters for unhoused Angelenos experiencing homelessness to provide relief from extreme weather since at least 2020, and we will continue to address these issues. Right now, it is critical that Angelenos stay safe and stay home unless directed otherwise by safety officials. Avoid unnecessary travel. In the event of life-threatening emergency, Angelenos should call 911. For impacts like roadway flooding, tree limbs blocking roads, or mudslides, Angelenos should request service online or by calling 311. And I know Chief Crowley will be providing an update on that and much more in terms of the status of our efforts. Like I said earlier, our emergency departments are unparalleled, so when an unprecedented disaster or disasters hit, know that we are ready. Thank you, and let me introduce Chief Kristen Crowley, the Incident Commander.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kristen Crowley, the Fire Chief from the Los Angeles City Fire Department, and I'll be providing you a brief. As expected, we are experiencing a citywide increase in calls for service related to flooding, winds, and debris flows. Fortunately, we have had plenty of advance notice in this event, and we took the necessary forward-thinking steps, just as many of you did as well within the city. Our LA City Emergency Operations Center remains activated at a level 2 response, which means that all city departments have representatives working towards this mission around the clock in an all-city approach utilizing city departments to ensure public safety. We currently have nearly 100 personnel staffing these critical positions. In addition to all city agencies, we have representations from LAUSD, LAWA, Port of LA, and the National Weather Service here to help us make critical decisions. And as you can see behind me, we will continue to work with our local, state, and federal agencies. The teams we have here that are pre-deployed have been working throughout the day and the night to mitigate a variety of storm-related incidences in many parts of the city. And this augmented staffing will remain in place for as long as necessary. Fortunately, we have had no reports of any injuries or significant damage at this time. So here's a quick rundown of the significant LAFD storm-related emergency incidences. Earlier this morning, 2 cars were located in the flood control channel near Lincoln Heights. Our swift water rescue teams and urban search and rescue teams worked to search the vehicles and the surrounding area. No victims were found in the vehicles or any immediate area. However, during the search, one of our LAFD helicopters did spot one person in the water further down the river, outside of the city limits. Our partners from the LA County Fire Department performed a rescue on this particular individual, and our teams worked to ensure and remove that the car was removed from the wash. A number of wires down incidences have been reported throughout the city. The LAFD responds to evaluate the safety risk of each of these locations and then notifies our partners at DWP so that our emergency crews can then shut down the power if necessary and respond to make repairs as soon as possible. We have responded to a total of 2 debris flow incidences in Sherman Oaks area, which fortunately did not impact any structures. Large trees are susceptible to becoming uprooted as the ground becomes saturated, and we have had at least one topple over in the Westwood area so far. Tenants of an apartment building in Koreatown have reported a partial collapse of their roof, likely due to the weight of the accumulation of water. We have also received at least 15 reports of flooding in our area. Additionally, I have the following updates from our city partners. The Department of DWP are aware of power outages affected for at least 5,000 customers, and their teams are working to restore the power. The most impacted areas are in the Boyle Heights and Hollywood areas. The Department of Transportation has only one significant road closure to report at this time. This closure affects the Sepulveda Basin in the San Fernando Valley, specifically Burbank Boulevard between the 405 freeway and Havenhurst Avenue and Woodley Avenue between Victor Boulevard and Burbank Boulevard. The Department of Rec and Parks currently has 8 facilities operating as temporary shelters for our city's unhoused. All city parks and pools will remain closed until further notice. Our city's information system, the 311, is of course receiving an anticipated increased amount of traffic both from phone and online. There have been 170 requests for service so far today. And the Department of Public Works currently has 20 trucks responding to weather-related My LA 311 calls to flooding. So additional information. To the local media, officials' emergency public information can be found on our city's @Unified LA account, social media updates for emergency public information throughout the duration of this storm event. A list of fire stations with sandbags and sand is being updated on a regular basis at lafd.org/news. These supplies will be replenished on an ongoing basis, so far heading into one of these locations, so make sure you check online prior to going because it is a moving target in regard to the amount of sand and sandbags that we can supply. As many of you are aware, in addition to our storm, we have experienced an earthquake at 2:41 p.m. centered in the city of Ojai in the Ventura County. Our fire department did initiate our earthquake mode, which prompts all of our fire station resources to conduct a survey by land, air, and sea, in which they will look at their individual districts to identify any potential threats or infrastructure issues. As of now, we have received no reports of any significant damage. So thank you to Mayor Bass for her leadership, and thank you to all of the city departments. We're working very, very hard to ensure that we provide our services to the city. Thank you to the elected officials as well as our state and county partners for their collaboration, support, and to make sure that we continue to ensure the services to our local area in Los Angeles. And as the storm approaches this evening, we continue to encourage you to stay informed, stay home, and also stay safe. Now I'll turn it over to the Chair of LA County Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Janice Hahn.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Mayor Bass. I am Los Angeles County Supervisor Janice Hahn. I'm currently the chair of the LA County Board of Supervisors, and I know that for the last 3 days it's been nonstop preparation between the city of Los Angeles and the county of Los Angeles. This is an all hands-on-deck approach, and I'm thankful for my partnership with Mayor Bass and the city of Los Angeles in getting the word out to all of our residents. We're also looking to continue to do this throughout the weekend. This morning, I signed our emergency declaration for Los Angeles County. And that means that we've activated the full extent of emergency powers for life and property. And critically, it means that we're signaling to the state and the federal agencies that LA County is ready to accept any assistance that they can give. And I know we have the full support of our governor. And I wrote this before I knew you were going to be here. Yesterday, Governor Newsom issued a declaration of emergency for all the areas in Southern California that are in Hilary's path. Meanwhile, our LA County departments have already taken critical measures to protect residents. LA County Public Health has issued a warning. People should stay out of the water in our beaches for 72 hours. And I know it's human nature to want to go and see this storm, see the swells and the rain, but it is not safe to be along our coastal areas. And our LA County parks will be closed. And our LA County libraries are also going to be closed. We have also been proactively working to make sure that vulnerable communities remain safe. And I know many people are concerned about our unhoused residents. Well before this storm, LA County teams from our homeless initiative have been doing face-to-face outreach, going encampment by encampment, tent by tent, and moving individuals away from the flood control channels and onto higher ground. Our Parks Department is open to shelter at Pamela Park in the city of Duarte, and our homeless initiative have also augmented the winter shelter system. So if you're watching this and you need somewhere to go or know someone who does, this may be an option. And in the county, call 211. I know in the city, you dial 311. But for those of you not in the city, dial 311. Another area of concern for, I think, all of us has been Catalina Island. And this afternoon, the last boat from Avalon to the mainland to Long Beach and San Pedro ports left the island. I've been in touch with Mayor Annie Marshall of Avalon, but we have spent the last 2 days vigorously encouraging residents of that island and tourists alike to leave and come to the mainland. We are concerned because there is one power plant on the island run by Southern California Edison, and if that becomes flooded, then there will be a massive power outage on that island. But most residents have decided to stay and shelter in place, but our LA County teams are there to assist them on site. We've added personnel with our LA County Sheriff's Department and our LA County Fire Department. We've sent additional staff and equipment, including a third rescue boat and additional crews for those boats on board. And our LA County lifeguards will also be on standby and ready to deploy. I'm also joined today by Sheriff Luna. He won't be speaking, but he's certainly here to answer any questions. And residents should also be aware that some transportation services will be affected. I know as the chair of the LA Metro system, Mayor Bass, and I am the vice chair with her, we have been monitoring the situation at Metro, and so far they have not suspended any of their services. However, I know one transit system in my district in Long Beach has decided to stop all their system from tonight at 6 till tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. But I know the mayor and I will continue to monitor Metro and give anybody an update on those systems. But really, we urge residents to take the message that Mayor Bass has made so clear. Stay home, stay safe, stay informed. That's what we want people to know. And in LA County, you can visit ready.lacounty.gov to keep up with what's going on in your particular area. Thank you, Mayor Bass, again for your leadership.
Well, what you see before you is an all-of-government approach from the federal, state, county, and city, and absolutely includes our school district, the Los Angeles Unified Superintendent, Alberto Cavallo.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. To the leadership represented here today and to the workforce members and the parents of children who anxiously are awaiting a decision regarding schools tomorrow, we are about to announce so. I want to begin by saying we make these decisions after going through a significant number of considerations. It is not an easy decision to make. We know the impact that closing of schools brings to our community. However, let's consider this. The peak of this storm will take place in the middle of the night, depriving us of our ability to inspect schools or determine access to schools to be safe. As early as 5:30, 6 a.m., we have students usually walking to school. Without the ability to inspect schools or the access to schools, we cannot determine if there are power lines down or tree limbs down, potentially bringing injury or worse to our students or workforce. We have bus drivers who report to work as early as 4:30 in the morning. That is when some of the worst conditions are expected to take place. In addition to that, we cannot safely operate our bus fleet that transports in excess of 30,000 students every single day with wind speeds at 35 miles an hour or higher. We expect speeds well in excess of 35 miles an hour, in fact, gusts reaching 70 miles per hour. And the last point, a significant percentage of our workforce does not live within the jurisdiction of Los Angeles. The ability of those workforce members, ranging from bus drivers to custodial staff to maintenance individuals to teachers themselves, may be compromised because of the impact that the storm will have in their local communities. I know some of you will wake up tomorrow morning and will say, in my neighborhood, everything is okay. Our school district covers 700 square miles. There will be impact in some areas. We cannot inspect those areas, those schools, or access to the schools. So the prudent thing to do, to avoid harm, injury to any one child or workforce member of LAUSD, is to call off schools for tomorrow. So tomorrow there will be no schools active across Los Angeles Unified, all before and after programming inclusive of athletic activities, as well as third-party entities that hold activities within our schools. Everything will be shut down. We've been told that independent charter schools would follow our course of action. So speaking to the parents of charter school students, those schools will likely be shut down as well. I would urge you to contact the operators of those charter schools. We expect full resumption of all educational services beginning Tuesday morning as scheduled. For tomorrow, we're asking our workforce, particularly certificated leadership at the school sites, principals and assistant principals, as well as maintenance, operation personnel, and custodial staff to report to schools around 10 o'clock in the morning. If you have difficulties leaving your house, accessing the school, contact your supervisor. It is important to determine the viability of those facilities prior to Tuesday. In addition to that, we expect and will be advising our teacher colleagues to load assignments around 10 o'clock in the morning for asynchronous learning opportunities across Los Angeles Unified. We tested our connectivity, our device empowerment, and the operability of our learning management system, Schoology, which students, parents, and teachers got really used to during the pandemic. It is operating at 100%. Materials have been loaded, resources are available. The last point, senior leadership is expected to report both to central office as well as regional offices. If you're not senior leadership and do not receive a call from your senior leader, you are asked to stay home and work from home. 80% of our kids depend on free and reduced lunch programs, which in our district, thanks to the state, we provide for free for every single student. That is why we will be posting online and make available to the media distribution sites for grab-and-go food sometime tomorrow afternoon for the benefit of our communities. Again, we'll wake up tomorrow with some degree of criticism. We stand by our decision. There is no way we can compromise the safety of a single child or an employee, and our inability to survey buildings, our inability to determine access to schools makes it nearly impossible for us to open schools. The last point, I come from a coast where we dealt with a lot of hurricanes. I've dealt with a lot of closure of schools over the years. The trigger in most communities is if a community is under a tropical storm warning, automatically schools shut down, no question. That is sufficient. Thank you very much, and now I'd like to bring up National Weather Service Lisa Phillips.
Thank you for having me here today. I'm Lisa Phillips with the National Weather Service out of Oxnard, California. As you guys know, Hilary actually has made landfall around noon today along the northern Baja Peninsula with a maximum wind speed of 55 knots. The track has remained mostly the same. It's still tracking north-northwest, and the speed is actually faster. It's around 20 knots to the north-northwest, and it's expected to move even faster over the next day or so. The center is currently just north of the Mexico border. And with this storm, we have been advertising heavy rains, gusty winds, and thunderstorms. As you know, we have a tropical storm warning in effect. And because of the faster speeds of the motion of the storm, it means that the storm has less time to weaken by the time it gets here. It also means that the peak of the rainfall could be earlier. So right now, for the peak, we're looking at somewhere from now until 9 p.m. for the peak rainfall for LA, the LA basin. And with that, we have had 1 inch of rain approximately over the LA basin already, and we're expecting at least a couple more inches over the area. For the winds, we're also expecting significant winds with this storm. This is going to look a little bit like a Santa Ana wind event, however, it will be wet. So the winds will be north to northeast, 30 to 50 miles an hour for coasts and valleys. And it's really mostly those higher winds are going to affect the north to northeast exposed areas. So if you're in a Santa Ana wind-prone area, expect to see some winds with this. We're expecting stronger winds in the mountains with wind speeds from 50 to 60 miles per hour or higher. We can also see thunderstorms with this storm system, expecting thunderstorms embedded in the rain bands. And with any storm that forms, you can see locally heavy downpours and local erratic gusty winds. And those gusty winds could be from 30 to 50 miles an hour and possibly could be damaging in some locations. So we still have that tropical storm warning in effect. We have a flash flood warning in effect for LA County, and that's to 7:45 p.m. tonight. And then we also have our flood watches ongoing, and that goes until 10 a.m. on Monday. And looking into tonight for the forecast, we're expecting showers going into tonight and then into Monday, tapering off into the afternoon. That's all I have. Thank you so much.
President of the Los Angeles City Council, Paul Krikorian, and let me acknowledge the Chief of the Los Angeles Police Department, Michael Moore.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Once again today, Los Angeles has been tested. And once again today, so far, Los Angeles is passing that test with flying colors. We're used to responding to emergencies here, and in this emergency, our response has been effective and seamless, thanks in large measure to the extraordinary men and women of the Los Angeles Fire Department, the Los Angeles Police Department, and our Emergency Management Department. And on behalf of everyone in Los Angeles, I want to thank each and every one of them for keeping us safe throughout this emergency. But it's important to remember, too, that our other city departments are first responders when we have emergencies. And whether it's the men and women of the Department of Water and Power, or the Department of Transportation, or the various bureaus of our Department of Public Works, or our Recreation and Parks Department, throughout this city, right now as we speak, there are public employees out putting themselves at risk in order to ensure that the rest of us can stay safe. And again, we're grateful to each and every one of them for putting their lives on hold right now to keep the rest of us safe. I've been in contact this morning with all of the members of the City Council. Every one of them is monitoring the condition in their district, reaching out to neighborhoods and organizations in their district to ensure that if there are localized issues, we have the resources available to respond to them. And I'm pleased to say that so far the reports that I've gotten back from all of the members is that things are holding up well so far. But as we just heard, that could change. And so to everyone at home who's watching this, please remember that as all of your city employees are putting themselves at risk to keep us safe, you need to do your part too. If you don't need to be on the road, please don't be on the road. If you see anything, whether it's a fallen tree branch or a fallen power line, please report it immediately. If it's a fallen power line, call 911. If it's a fallen tree limb or some other situation like that, you can call 311. We need to know what's happening in your neighborhood so we can help respond immediately. And I just want to say, too, Los Angeles is at its best when we work together, when we look out for our neighbors, when we look out for each other as one family. And I'm so honored to be a part of this city family under Mayor Bass's leadership, which has responded so effectively today. And equally, I'm so pleased that we're joined by Supervisor Hahn, and we know that working together with the county and working together with the state of California, and we're honored to have Governor Newsom here, we can get through any emergency and any catastrophe as long as we're all working together, which we are. So thank you very much, and Mayor, thank you for your leadership.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. The governor of the great state of California, Gavin Newsom.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. President, Supervisor, Mr. Superintendent, Sheriff, Chief, thank you for the privilege of time. As the supervisor said, I was not intending to walk in on a press conference, your press conference. I had the intention of doing what I've done for much of the day and over the last few days, and that was to visit, to check in, to listen, to learn, and to offer the support of the state. I've had the privilege of doing that today from the border down in National City. I had the privilege of being there yesterday with the convoy, hundreds of National Guards men and women, 350 that were deployed to 11 counties throughout the region. Had the opportunity to spend time with Mayor Bass's colleagues down in San Diego and elsewhere, talking about their efforts, and moved our way up to meet with farm workers that were just worried not about the weather, but about the fact they didn't get a day of pay because they were asked not to work out in the Murrieta, Temecula area, meeting with outreach workers in Paris, California. I just had the opportunity as well to be with the sheriff in San Bernardino. I drove over here and watched 3 accidents on the freeway. Quite literally, one in front of us, by about 30 yards, a pickup truck. And so, Mr. President, I appreciate your comments about common sense. Just do your best. Be safe. If you don't have an essential reason to be out there, don't. And, you know, if you're passing the CHP, which I was with, maybe you want to slow down, which was the incident that marked my consciousness here today. But it's also a marked conscious in this respect, how proud I am of all the leaders that are assembled here today. You got pros. You got folks that have reps. We were just out here how many months ago with all those rain bombs and atmospheric rivers in December, and January, and February, and March. And, you know, I think there's an old ancient curse that loosely is translated, say, may you live in interesting times. Certainly interesting times. Tornadoes, lightning strikes. I've got CAL FIRE worried about wildfires because of the winds, not just the tornadoes. Walk out of the OES, the Office of Emergency Services in San Bernardino, check my phone and learn about an earthquake that originally came in at 6.0, appears to be close to 5.1. There were over 13 aftershocks just in the drive over in the Ventura region. These are certainly interesting times. That was punctuated by a call just an hour or so ago from Nevada. The president, unsurprisingly, checking in, comparing and contrasting the work we're doing here and the support. I want you to know how grateful the president is, and I am, for this local support you're providing the people of Hawaii and Maui, and the 100+ personnel that we've sent over to Maui as well, complementing this extraordinary mutual aid system that is just best in class, does not exist at this scale anywhere else in the country. And I would argue around the globe, and I don't say that lightly because people travel around the world to learn about this system of mutual aid. 7,500 people the state has pre-deployed. 3,904 CHP, over 2,000 Caltrans officials. We just brought down last few hours some of our engineers from Northern California, Southern California, that will do inspections around bridges so that we can more quickly open up and recover. None of us, including the superintendent and the comments he made, are naive about the nature of where we may be this time tomorrow. You know, this is not a permanent state. And so people are going to look forward to getting back, and we have to make sure they get back, but they're safe. And so enormous amount of work that needs to be done in that respect as well. Final point. While we have 7,500 personnel situated throughout Southern California, and we put forward that emergency declaration, localism is determinative. And localism is not just local elected officials and those first responders, but it's neighbors helping neighbors, checking in on seniors, checking in on the most vulnerable, making sure those that are underserved and under-resources know what's going on and know what to expect. We're just walking into this. I left, and I'll close. I left from Palm Springs at City Hall, meeting with the mayor and others. There wasn't a drop in the sky, coming from the sky. Soon as we got up to San Bernardino, they reported flooding at that same site and the most significant rainfall over a 60-minute period anytime in the history of Palm Springs. That's how quickly the system is moving. Take nothing for granted. If you think, boy, the skies are clear and I can go out on a long jog or walk, just be cautious. Wait till this time tomorrow night to consider that. And so let me, again, thank you all for your consideration, the privilege of the opportunity to share that. And again, deep gratitude, Madam Mayor, for your leadership, for staying ahead of this, for being as serious as you have been and as intentional as you've been. People expect nothing less, and we're very, very proud of the leadership here in LA County. Thank you all very much.
We will go to Spanish in a minute, but I wanted to acknowledge many of our first responders. Sheriff Luna and Chief Moore, our Emergency Management Department, Carol Parks, Marty Adams from the Department of Water and Power, Ted Allen from 311, Connie Llanos from the Department of Transportation, Barbara Romero from LA Sanitation, Keith Mose from Street Services, Jimmy Kim from Rec and Parks, Osama Yonan from Building and Safeties, Mercedes Marquez, Brian Williams, Randall Winston, Nancy Sutley, all deputy mayors. Thank you very much for your efforts as we talk about bringing the city together and, frankly, our all-of-government approach. This is an example of what you see here. We'll now move to Spanish. Let me introduce David Ortiz from the Los Angeles Fire Department, and then we will bring back up our superintendent from LA Unified, Alberto Cavallo.
Thank you, Mayor. Como esperamos, tormenta tropical ha traído un incremento en llamadas de urgencia y emergencia aquí en el municipio de Los Ángeles. Hemos tenido bastante avance, notificación para prepararnos para esta tormenta. Nuestro centro de operaciones, que puede ver a mi espalda, continúa siendo operado en un nivel 2, lo cual significa que representantes de todos los departamentos de nuestro municipio están colaborando alrededor de todas las 24 horas para utilizar los recursos de nuestra ciudad, nuestro condado y nuestro estado para dar apoyo a la gente que vive aquí en el sur de California. En consecuencia, representantes del Distrito Escolar de Los Ángeles, el Aeropuerto Internacional de Los Ángeles, el Puerto de Los Ángeles y el Servicio Meteorológico de Estados Unidos nos han ayudado a hacer decisiones críticas que nos han ayudado a poder trabajar en conjunto y poder llevar a cabo decisiones que van a poder beneficiar al público. Nuestros equipos han estado puestos adelante de esta tormenta y continúan manejando diferentes incidentes en todas partes del municipio y del condado con equipo adicional, personal de emergencia y personal de todo tipo necesario. Afortunadamente no han habido reportes de lesiones ni de daño estructural hasta ahorita. Continúa habiendo una amenaza aquí en el sur de California. Esta mañana tuvimos una emergencia donde 2 vehículos fueron llevados por la corriente del río de Los Ángeles en Lincoln Heights. Nuestros equipos de rescate acuático y equipos de rescate estructural estuvieron allí para buscar en estos vehículos si habían víctimas. No encontraron a nadie dentro de los vehículos, pero uno de nuestros helicópteros sí pudo ver una víctima en el agua, lo cual la corriente se lo llevó fuera de nuestra jurisdicción a la del condado, y nuestros compañeros del Departamento de Bomberos del Condado de Los Ángeles efectuaron el rescate de esta víctima. Continúa a haber gran incremento en las llamadas de cables eléctricos, cables de alta tensión que están cayendo a través de toda la área, y estos llegan a ser peligrosos. Pedimos que usted notifique, por favor, a su compañía de energía local, aquí en Los Ángeles, es DWP, para que pueda hacer los reparos necesarios inmediatamente. Existe la posibilidad de deslaves de tierra. Hemos tenido 2 llamadas para investigar este tipo de incidente y no se han reportado daños mayores. Árboles también son susceptibles a perder su raíz y caer durante estas condiciones. Tenemos personas que han reportado daños a sus techos y que han tenido el peso del agua que ha tumbado techo. Hemos tenido inundaciones en varias partes de la ciudad, y dentro del municipio de Los Ángeles, el Departamento de Water and Power reporta que hay más de 5,500 personas sin energía. Están nuestros equipos trabajando, tratando de restaurar servicio lo más pronto posible. El Departamento de Transportación Pública también está reportando de que ha habido cerradas calles, específicamente donde está la presa de Sepúlveda y las carreteras de Burbank y Woodley están cerradas. El Departamento de Parques y Recreación está reportando que 8 diferentes albergues han sido abiertos temporalmente para las personas que están experimentando ser desahuciados. Los parques, las albercas continúan cerradas hasta la notificación siguiente. Nuestro centro de información de 311 continúa recibiendo llamadas de urgencia y servicio, y hasta ahorita han habido más de 170 pedidos de servicios por el público. El Departamento de Obras Públicas tiene 20 equipos especializados para llevar y ayudar al público cuando hay inundaciones. Le invitamos que use el 311 para poder pedir ayuda y recursos. Queremos también agradecer a los medios de comunicación por continuar dando a nosotros y al público la información de lo que está ocurriendo con este evento de tormenta. Muchas de las estaciones de bomberos continúan dando bolsas de arena al público y estamos tratando de mantener el paso con el pedido del público, y se han abastecido y reabastecido muchas de estas estaciones. Por favor, llame a su estación de bomberos local para ver si hay arena cuando usted la necesita. Aparte de estas condiciones de la tormenta tropical, también tuvimos un terremoto a las 2:41, y este fue centrado en el condado de Ventura, cerca de la ciudad de Ojai. El Departamento de Bomberos entró en una condición de patrullaje alrededor de las calles de Los Ángeles y revisaron que la infraestructura de nuestra ciudad no fue impactada. No se encontraron daños mayores. Agradecemos el liderazgo de nuestro alcalde, Mayor Bass, y todos los diferentes líderes que están aquí con nosotros por dar el apoyo que nosotros necesitamos para atravesar este tiempo difícil. Mientras la tormenta continúa incrementando en intensidad, le pedimos a todo el público que por favor se mantenga seguro, se mantenga informado y se mantenga en casa. Ahora estamos dejándole saber también, si usted usa su teléfono inalámbrico, que mantenga este teléfono para recibir alertas de WIA. Estas alertas, las compañías de celular las mandan con información en cuanto a emergencias que están ocurriendo. Muchísimas gracias. Ahora invito al director del distrito escolar.
Thank you very much. Before I pivot to Spanish, I want to once again express my extreme gratitude to the superior leadership of our Mayor, Karen Bass, of our governor, of our city leadership, our county leadership, and the brave men and women of law enforcement, fire departments, first responders across our community. And my own team, who for the past 48 hours has engaged these different departments in making the right decision. Unas palabras en español. Debido a condiciones atmosféricas muy dinámicas que continúan a cambiar de una forma muy dramática, anticipando vientos fuertes y también lluvias fuertes por varias partes de nuestra comunidad, y considerando también que un gran porcentaje de nuestros empleados viven en áreas muy lejas de nuestro sistema escolar, donde trabajan, considerando que mañana por la mañana, a las 4:30 de la mañana, muchos de nuestros colegas de trabajo, principalmente los conductores de autobuses escolares, deberían que entrar en la calle, considerando que las condiciones no van a ser apropiadas, quizás peligrosas, y también considerando que muchos de nuestros niños caminan hasta sus escuelas, empezando sus jornadas a las 6 de la mañana, sin la oportunidad de inspeccionar las calles o la condición de nuestros planteles escolares. Debido a esas condiciones importantes que no se pueden ignorar, hemos decidido encerrar todos los planteles escolares mañana, lunes, debido a las condiciones que yo mencioné. Es una decisión que nosotros hacemos después de hablar con nuestros colegas de trabajo, después de considerar el impacto en nuestra comunidad, pero es una decisión que tenemos que hacer para proteger el bienestar, la salud y la protección de nuestros niños y de nuestros colegas de trabajo. Anticipamos que martes vamos a reiniciar el día escolar como un día regular, un día normal. Todas las actividades atléticas o actividades lideradas por entidades privadas en nuestros planteles escolares mañana también van a ser canceladas. Vamos a hacer una distribución de comidas en 3 o 4 áreas a nivel de condado para el beneficio de nuestros estudiantes, considerando el nivel de pobreza en nuestra comunidad. Por último, estamos pidiendo a nuestros directores de escuela y asistentes directores y los administradores seniors de nuestro sistema escolar que reporten a sus oficinas o a sus escuelas a las 10 de la mañana. También vamos a pedir a nuestros maestros que pongan las tareas a nivel electrónico virtualmente en Schoology a las 10 de la mañana para el beneficio de nuestros estudiantes. No son soluciones perfectas, pero son soluciones necesarias. Para nosotros, la prioridad máxima de nuestra Junta Escolar es la protección, el bienestar de nuestros niños y de nuestros colegas de trabajo. Si tiene alguna pregunta, por favor, llamen a nuestra línea de contacto para obtener información o diríjense a nuestras redes sociales para información actualizada constantemente. Una vez más, es una decisión difícil, pero debido al cambio dinámico de las condiciones atmosféricas en nuestra comunidad, esperando y anticipando vientos fuertes y lluvias fuertes durante el medio de la noche, sin la posibilidad de inspeccionar los planteles escolares, tampoco las calles que dan acceso a los planteles escolares. Es prudente, es necesario hacer la decisión de cerrar todas las escuelas en el condado de LUSD. Once again, thank you very much for your leadership, Madam Mayor, and the partnership that is truly unprecedented in this community. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
We're going to take a few questions. First question to Robert.
Oh, thanks, Hyde.
And if folks could say the hour that they're with as well.
Governor, Mayor, if we can have you both come to the podium for a second. We were here at the EOC when suddenly, out of a tropical storm, we talked about an earthquake. Curious for your personal reactions. Was it like, you got to be kidding me? We've got dual natural disasters. Governor, you said you didn't feel it. You were deep in the IE, but curious to know your personal reactions as we're live right now on NBC.
Well, when we're in the middle of a natural disaster like we are, I think you roll with the punches. And actually, the building we're in is one of the safest buildings that's on rollers. So we felt it. The building rolled a little bit. But, you know, as Angelinos, we rise to the occasion. So it was startling, but I knew that we were prepared to deal with both the rain and the earthquake.
I'm from San Francisco.
Competing earthquakes.
I think we all were sharing in a private conversation that we were all having the private conversation saying everything but ... an earthquake. No sooner did we say that, an earthquake. Look, we've been focused on earthquake preparedness for quite some time. We've invested tens of millions of dollars in new early warning system, the MyShake app. I would encourage anyone that hasn't yet downloaded the MyShake app to do just that. That's how I was actually notified. It's imperfect, but it's getting better all the time. But look, this state, this is what we prepare for, and you'll see the continuity of considerations as it relates to one emergency to the next. There's basic functions that are necessary. There's basic muscle memory that's well advanced. But yeah, as I said, these are interesting times, and when you add a tornado in there and you add lightning strikes, and we're dealing with burn scars that are recent up in El Dorado because of the Apple Fire, you're dealing with massive floods that took more lives than all the wildfires combined in the last few years. The fact that we have mutual aid up in Oregon to deal with wildfires near the Klamath as we speak, and 100-plus people in Maui. The fact that we have 2 people that came from Florida. Thank you, Ron DeSantis, for sending 2 hurricane experts into the operations centers at the state. It is one remarkable moment in time.
Governor, the status of the California National Guard.
I mean, they're best in class. 350-plus members are out there. Saw that convoy, as I said, coming out of National City. These are just remarkable young men and women. They coincidentally were all coming back from a training exercise, and we immediately redeployed them for this exercise, and they're already being utilized in terms of evacuation sites. We've got 3 mandatory evacuation sites as of an hour ago, and this changes consistently in San Bernardino area, in Orange and Riverside. Primarily, we've got recommendations on other parts of the state, but they're already pre-positioned, and they're already being utilized, and all remarkably effective.
And where are they right now? Are they in?
They're in. We've got 11 counties. We just added a new county to the emergency dock, so we've got 12 counties that are under our pre-positioning framework as it relates to the National Guard. They've been distributed in those pre-positioned areas as early as yesterday, where the bulk were deployed, and additional resources this morning.
Christina Fox.
Thank you. For both the Governor and Mayor Bass, what are your biggest concerns at the moment right now?
Well, my biggest concerns is that we haven't seen the strength of the rain just yet. We know that it could get much worse. And people might feel a little okay because it hasn't been that bad. So my biggest concern is that people will be a little dismissive and go out when we need people to stay at home, to stay safe, to make sure that their devices are charged, that they have flashlights, and that they prepare for the evening. We don't know what the rest of the day will bring.
Well, I just want to amplify what the mayor's saying. She's absolutely right, and that's why I highlighted that example down at Palm Springs City Hall, where there was no rain in sight, and within an hour they had record-breaking rain over the course of that hour and flooding. That's why we've sent out over 300,000 sandbags throughout the region. It's the #1 request in terms of our mutual aid system, the sandbags. But that fundamental issue around people just saying, no, we got this. I can assure you, having traveled the state, the microclimates I mean, every 10 minutes of that drive is a completely different experience. Those rain, not just whipping up, but that wind.
The
And
wind.
the wind
The
has
wind.
not yet arrived,
Right.
and that's coming right behind.
And a quick follow-up question, if it's okay. I know we're at level 2 currently here at the EOC. What would be grounds to raise it to level 1?
I'll ask our incident commander to answer that.
So just to be clear, the current situation, we are comfortable where we are with the level 2. Now, level 1, if anything goes beyond our scope and complexity of what's happening now, we are going to lean forward and pull additional resources in the city. We would implement a level 1 at that moment. So it's just beyond, if things get worse and we go beyond that capacity, that's when we would go to level 1.
Up here in front in the red is
Mayor Bass, Salvador Duran with the Innovation Network. As you're executing this massive emergency plan for an unprecedented event, can you talk about some of the challenges that you're facing as we move forward with the plan?
Well, fortunately, because we were well prepared, because of the leadership from Chief Crowley, we started preparations a couple of days ago. But having said that, my biggest concern is Angelenos just not being accustomed to this type of weather event. And so I do believe we have everything in place now. Now it's a question of making sure that people are listening and that they're following through. So I feel good about where we are. We just need to continue in this direction. And Chief, I don't know if there's anything that you would like to add to that.
I believe the greatest concern at this point is, again, we want to stress the facts that right now, up until another 5 to 6 hours, could be the worst weather that we're going to see. So that posture that we have to take from the city perspective, from the region, from the state, is continue to lean forward to make sure we're providing the services. But on top of that, if things do get worse, at that point, making sure that we're utilizing all of our resources appropriately. And the communication piece is really important. We keep hitting on the points of the community. And it is a true partnership from the resource deployment and leaning forward with what we have in place, additional resources, utilizing the state resources as well. The partnership and the lean forward on the community is just important. So please do not let your guard down. The worst of it is still to come, and with that, we'll continue to provide the services necessary.
Just a follow-up question to what you just said. Can you tell us perhaps some of the most vulnerable areas within our city that you are keeping an eye on right now?
Sure. I'd like to defer that to our EMD director. Come on up. Carol Parks, please.
Well, we're waiting for our EMT director to come up. Let me just say that our unhoused population, I mean, the fact that in LA County you're talking about 70,000 people, in Los Angeles you're talking about 40,000 people. We do have shelters. If you know of people who are unhoused, they can call 211 to find out where the shelter is near them. And then also, several days ago, we went along the riverbeds. There have been, between the county and the city, outreach workers out on the riverbeds to make sure that people evacuated. Carol Parks?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we're watching all of Los Angeles because we don't know how this might impact our communities, but most importantly, the hillside, canyon areas, recent burn areas, those are all areas that we are watching. Any low-lying areas, but just be assured that in order to make sure that we're watching out for all of Los Angeles, we have resources throughout the city in all areas of the city.
Next question to Kate with Spectrum.
Yeah, my question is for the mayor. Given the fact that the worst of the storm is going to hit overnight, what's your message to people who are trying to plan their morning commute, or maybe those plans are changing now that schools are closed? And given the fact that there's going to be more impacts, are you planning another update before tomorrow morning?
I don't know if there'll be another one update before tomorrow morning, but there will be an update at 8 a.m. And I will tell you, to the city family, we are encouraging people to work remotely. Hopefully other people will be able to work remotely. But as always, first responders have to come to work. Essential workers have to come to work. So we would just suggest that they arrive, hit the roads early, be safe, drive slowly. As the governor mentioned on the way here, he saw 3 accidents, which probably means people were not really abiding by the weather conditions and driving as normal. So we, again, if you can stay home, if you can work remotely, please do so.
I was going to say, we in the LA County, too. We have 110,000 employees in LA County, and we sent an email last Friday urging everyone that could to work from home. So we should have less people out on the road as a result of LA County employees. I think we learned a lot during the pandemic that you actually can work from home. You can be productive. So if you can, stay home. But we do know, Mayor Bass, that the essential workers, unfortunately, do have to show up at work. And the less people on the road that don't have to be, it'll be better for them.
Any other questions? Mayor?
Hi, Pat Hendrick with Snapchat's original series, Good Luck Los Angeles. I think every Californian at one point has said, we've got fires, we've got earthquakes, but at least we don't have hurricanes. And Gen Z is very known for making light of situations and saying that they're a little tired of the word unprecedented. What are your guys' personal thoughts or fears about what this means for California's environment moving forward in the next couple of years?
Well, we are fortunate that in our state and in our city, we do not debate climate change. We do understand that we are going to have unprecedented weather events around the country, and when we do, they are going to be strong, like what we're facing today. So I'm just, once again, always glad to be a Californian, glad to be an Angelino, because I do know in our state as well as in our city, we are doing everything we can to address climate change. Thank you.
You got about 20 minutes? Because look, I mean, Mother Nature bats last, she bats 1,000. She's chemistry, biology, and physics. If you don't believe in science, you got to believe your own eyes, as the mayor was saying. Just ask the folks up in Grizzly Flats, in Greenville, California, Paradise, California. Towns wiped off the map. Lahaina and Maui. There's no debate. There's no debating. The hots are getting hotter, the dries are getting drier, the wets are getting a lot wetter. And this is a new reality. The difference is there's no state better positioned to take responsibility to serve as an inspiration to the rest of the nation and the world. There's no subnational jurisdiction anywhere on the globe. 52 billion reasons I can back up that claim. Doing more to change the way we produce and consume energy and to address the issue, the fundamental issues of low-carbon green growth as it relates to the issues of climate change. So I would say that to young folks, that we've got your back and we recognize our role and responsibility to do more and do better in this environment.
Council President, Paul Kerkorian.
Yeah, thank you. The one thing I would add is Los Angeles is very much leading the way. With LA 100, we've committed ourselves to 100% clean energy by 2035. We're leading the nation in our commitment to electrifying the transportation sector. We've done so much when it comes to changing our energy use here. And that's not just because we feel it's important to do our share of addressing a global problem. It's because it impacts us here locally as well. And if people haven't started to understand that yet, then as we have these continuing extreme weather conditions, as we become more vulnerable to extreme danger from fire, then I hope people will start to understand this is a global issue, but it's very much a local issue that we have to be locally committed to as well, and we are.
All right, last call. Thanks so much, everybody. As the mayor said, unless there's a different development, we will be here tomorrow morning for our next update at 8 a.m. Thank you.